Okay, moving on to the next question, which will be for Mr. Biddle, Mr. Page, Mr. Patterson, and Mr. Weaver. Very simple. There is a new consensus behind statehood. What do you propose in the way of a strategy to get us there? Mr. Biddle.
In terms of a strategy to get us there, so I think I talked a couple months ago about the need for us to accept the political realities of the fact that the Congress is not going to give us statehood unless we go and take it. And you know, the reality is, you know, the power dynamic that we're living in, we're going to have to take the fight to the people that would continue to oppress and oppose us. And I think that we have to be organized and be active, and we have to take that activity to the homes and to the congressional districts of the congressmen and senators who would continue to oppose us. So I think in terms of strategy, you know, we plot the course of statehood by beginning to identify our friends and allies in the House and in the Senate, and then beginning to rally around and, you know, advocate with those who would oppose us, and then frankly take the, you know, the real world of politics to them. Elections have consequences, and our ability to organize our residents and to grow a network in their home communities to oppose them if they are intent on imposing on us rules that are unjust is the first step in a strategy towards statehood.
Mr. Page?
Yes, thank you. I think that this should be phrased in the terms of a 2011 extension of the civil rights struggle. Quite frankly, over 500,000 people completely disenfranchised. I think we should reach out to veterans groups, because we have a huge number of veterans from the district who have served both in Iraq and Afghanistan as well as other wars. We should tap into those networks of veterans. We should also reach out to civil rights organizations across the country to explain this is a massive civil rights issue, that over 500,000 people are disenfranchised and don't have a voice in Congress. So we can work through those national networks to bring energy to this issue nationally, and also to organize people to approach their congressional representatives and their state legislature representatives, so we can get all the states, 2/3 of the state legislatures on board and Congress on board with approving statehood for the District of Columbia. And I truly believe that if we reach out to the people and we explain to them that we are disenfranchised and we are the equivalent of the Egyptian population here in the D.C., we can.
Your time
thank
is
you,
up.
and my time is
Thank
up.
you.
That was a beautiful thought I could have finished. Thank you,
Mr. Patterson?
Well, first of all, I'd like to say that we need to change DC vote into making sure that they're along with us getting statehood. It's not just enough to consistently look for a vote in Congress, but we actually have to change the education of people nationwide that we do not have a vote in the District of Columbia. And what the district clause has said to us and gives us jurisdiction for Congress to have, you know, their authority over us. So it's an education process. It's an education process in making sure that every American knows across the country that we don't have a vote, that we don't have that vote because we're not a state. So what I would do is I propose that we get the 2/3, as Mr. Page has spoken so eloquently about, and continue to educate the nation that we do not have a vote.
Mr. Weaver?
In 1993, the District of Columbia completely botched the campaign around statehood. We had a Democratic House, we had a Democratic Senate, we had a Democratic President of the United States who was in support of statehood. And we didn't do our due diligence and do our politics right. If California can go out and do a nationwide campaign about the intricacies and the beauty of California cheese, I believe it's in the best interest of the District of Columbia to go out and sort of put forward what we want for New Columbia. In 1993, the Republicans' counteroffer to D.C. statehood was a vote in Congress and 2 votes in Maryland for the Senate. I think many people would jump at that now if you were to look at the comparison between giving Utah a vote and D.C. a vote. We need to go back to square one and create a nationwide campaign, whether it's formulating around the California cheese model, or it's actually just going out and finding each member of Congress that possibly, because most people in the District of Columbia, anyone who's bought anything online understands that most people don't understand that we are not a state and that we don't have voting rights.